See, nowadays you gotta be clever in how you demand things or what your demands are. Because, well, you can get into the quagmire of, well, not knowing what your demand should be. A lot of times, this is what happens. I'm going to lay it out for you in a crystal clear picture so you know not to get caught up in this situation. And if you're in the situation, you know how to handle it going forward. You walk in and you're like, I demand representation. I want to be a part of this thing. I don't want to just be treated like, well, a cog in the wheel, so to speak. And well, when you know, that conversation ends right there. Now, there's no pressure. That's what is missing. Pressure. And you know, you need a tool to implement the pressure. That's why I like this thing back here. Because that's a tool. I gotta do the right thing again. There you go. That's a tool. And well, it puts pressure on people. And what do you know? I think it's definitely time that there's pressure. Now, you look at it, this thing in the grand scheme of it. And you look at the big picture. And you zoom out. Because everybody wants to try to zoom in. And you miss the forest for the trees. Let's take a look at this, shall we? There's 500 Fortune 500 companies. 500 Fortune 500 companies, so to speak. And well, look at the representation. There's only 38 women who are Fortune 500 CEOs out of 500 companies that are Fortune 500. That's 38. That's 6%. 6% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. 6%. Well, okay. We're certainly not going to get there. There's going to be no diversity. There's going to be no equity. And certainly no inclusion. Wait a minute. Purple People's Out. Repeat that again for me. I said that we're certainly not going to get there. There's certainly not going to be any diversity. There won't be any equity. And no inclusion. Purple People's Out. Say that one more time, but slowly. Well, we're certainly not going to get there. There's going to be no diversity, no equity, and no inclusion. Purple People's Out. You're brilliant. How so? Well, let me zoom out for a moment. You know, it's a rigged system. It's a rigged game for the good old boys. The old boys in the club that, well, don't want any diversity, certainly don't believe in equity and inclusion. That's scoffed at. That's talk for, well, weaklings. No, they just want to do their own thing and be left alone. No oversight. Nothing to, well, be held accountable to. And you know what I think about them. Those old bastards should be the first to be held accountable for what they've done. Not just to everybody, but to the entire planet. So there definitely needs to be a mechanism put in place where, well, they're checked at every turn. Because, well, we certainly can't trust them anymore. They've kind of ruined the whole game for everybody. So we need some fair-minded arbitrators. Here's what I'm calling for. Every Fortune 500 company should appoint a DEI director, a person that's in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that person should, well, in 100% of the cases, identify or be female. You know, when 500 of your Fortune 500 companies and you only have 38 people who identify as being female. That's, well, that's what we call toxic. That's why we have a term for it. It's called toxic masculinity. It's called a patriarchy for a reason. You know, there needs to be a DEI director who identifies as being a woman or female at every company that is a Fortune 500 company in the United States. And that needs to happen ASAP.